Most of those who go to college are better informed about society, what's going on, how it works. They're more concerned, and they're more involved. They are the ones who are politically active. Perhaps the greatest contribution to society is that those who have gone to college want more than anything else to make their lives meaningful.
To appreciate the zeitgeist of this time, if you don't understand what was going on in these campuses, in this country, it was bigger than football. Vietnam is already going very badly by now.
Between 2,000 and 3,000 students of the faculty and the student body at the University of Michigan spent all night protesting the American policy in Vietnam.
In 1973, Watergate is not settled yet. The hearings are that summer, and they're going on.
There was no connection between my destruction of the summary sheets and the Watergate affair.
Well, it was quite a queer coincidence, wasn't it?
Everything you thought was stable is gone.
People have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Everything you thought was permanent is a sandcastle being eroded, except for Michigan and Ohio State football. It had nothing to do with politics whatsoever. This is gladiator battle, that's it.
He is not going to get the first down!
And that, of course, is exactly how it did not end. It ends with people we didn't meet or talk to.
This is the lowest day in my athletic career, either as a player or a coach, because I am bitterly resentful at the way this thing was handled.
That hits every paranoid button we have at this time. The politics, Watergate, Vietnam, Bo versus Woody, it all starts in late November 1973 in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
I didn't want to know anybody from Michigan. I didn't want to shake nobody's hand. I didn't want to lose my edge.
I really think that both the Ohio State players and the Michigan players will be forever tied together in that game.
We were all recruited by Bo and Woody. Some of us chose to go with Coach Hayes. Some chose to go with Bo Schembechler.
We were arch enemies on the field, but best of friends off, and I think that's that whole idea of vitriol born out of respect.
Certainly kept my Ohio State Rose Bowl jacket. It was 100% polyester, and it has a big old black patch that says Ohio State on it, and it's plaid.
Look at these guys. Steve.
What's happening?
Nice to see you.
There's such a bond and mutual respect that we have for each other. And it'll be good to sit down and share stories.
How are you?
Good. How you doing, Archie?
Yeah, Archie. Nice to see you. You too.
These guys on both sides, we all recognize that we were lucky. We've been fortunate.
That was from the Rose Bowl.
From the game we got voted to go. They sent the best team.
Tell them like it is.
And here we are, still 40 years later, talking about it.
Steve Luke.
Steve, Don Warner.
Don,
Hey, Don. Canadian Green, how you doing?
So let's celebrate it. Let's enjoy it. Let's revel in it.
What's up, brother? How you doing, man? What's up, Big Dan? How you feeling, baby? Good seeing you, man. Hey,
What's happening, man?
How you doing, man?
Only the good ones.
Hey, Bobby. Hey. You're a little bit less hair than our...
A little bit, yeah.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. I can't believe 40 years have passed.
And that's
Every time I say it, you know.
40 years. 40 years.
What does the University of Michigan mean to Michigan? For one thing, it means big-time football.
Beginning in the 1968 season, the Big Ten Conference was often referred to as the Big Two and the Little Eight. Typically, whoever won the game between Michigan and Ohio State went to the Rose Bowl. The loser stayed home.
Then when you add the fact that it was Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler, you add the fact that Michigan had several guys from Ohio playing on their team, you knew that it was going to be intense.
When Ohio State looked into the mirror at that time, they saw Michigan. And when Michigan looked into the mirror at that time, they saw Ohio State.
Two equally matched teams with two great leaders. Tough, unrelenting.
Woody was as much a father to Bo as his own dad was. Woody and Bo are a lot closer in spirit, temperament, you name it, than Bo was to his own father. That's saying something. Woody stamped him completely.
When Woody Hayes took the Miami, Ohio job, Bo Schembechler was one of his offensive linemen. Bo was a guy of limited athletic ability, but he always listened to his coach.
Bo became a full-time assistant under Woody from 1958 through 1962 at The Ohio State University. And who would ever have dreamed that the new coach at the University of Michigan in 1969 would be the guy that Woody Hayes had helped train so well?
Saturday, November 22nd, 1969, the Wolverines, coached by Bo Schembechler, meet the nation's #1 college football team, the Buckeyes of Ohio State University.
Leading up to that 1969 game, there were still unsold tickets. And that Monday morning, Will Perry and athletic director Don Canham put those tickets in a station wagon and drove them down to the Ohio State ticket office.
Don Canham was an innovator. He was one of the first to bring his business acumen, marketing, into college athletic administration.
He sat down at his kitchen table, started drawing so many of the logos and the pictures that we see today.
He put an M on everything that you're going to eat out of, eat off of, sit on, put on your hat, put on your body. It's got a block M. He trademarked the block M. He copyrighted that. I don't know how you can copyright a letter of the alphabet.
Don used to laugh and joke about the fact that he had more fans buying ashtrays and coffee cups with the University of Michigan logo on them than anybody in America.
Michigan was drawing maybe 60,000 a game, and they had a 100,000-seat stadium.
In '69, Canham has got to sell tickets to Ohio State fans.
And by the end of the week, the Buckeyes had purchased that entire amount of tickets, and that's how that game became a sellout at Michigan Stadium in 1969.
And there it is, what has to be the upset of the century.
On Monday, after the greatest upset in Michigan football history, Bo still got the guts to storm into Canham's office, all ticked off, saying, "Damn it, Canham, I saw about 30,000 red jackets in my stadium. That can never happen again." And Canham smiles, pulls out a cigar, leans back, puts his feet on the table, and says, "Bo, after Saturday, I will never have to again." And he was right about that. So 73, there ain't much red in that ballpark.
Hello, everybody. Yes, sir, it's finally here. Michigan versus Ohio State. This is what intercollegiate football is all about.
Do you guys remember, it seemed like Thanksgiving fell that Thursday before the game? Because I remember that galvanized us as a team because the campus was empty, and it was bad weather the whole week. Of course, the game was too. And we just kind of felt like it was us against the world. And that was the first time that Bo gave his famous quote, "You're going to fight in the North Atlantic, you got to train in the North Atlantic."
That's a Woody quote.
Go.
That's a Woody quote. That's a Woody quote.
But I just remember that whole week, and this is our task, and it's coming down to this, #1 versus #4, and let's get it on.
You have two nationally ranked teams who are undefeated, who are coming into a game at a time when the rules were very different. You could only go to one bowl game. There was no second place. One team is going to go home and they're going to not play any more football.
You know, in going into this last game, Ray, the last 4 years, we've won all of our games coming up to this one. And so I would say this is a club like the others, and I hope that we're fortunate enough to win this last one.
One of those two teams could have been national champion. It's certainly a game that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and one of the games.
Yeah, we'll not forget you either.
A record crowd of 105,223 are here.
Well, the great traditions here as you come out of the tunnel. The team runs through the M-Go Blue banner as they go over to as we go over to our side of the field and we touch the banner.
Here they come, Hare, Middleton, and the Buckeyes. And they're tearing down Michigan's coveted M Club banner. They will meet a dastardly fate here for that.
I was pissed off.
I guarantee if we did that, Bo would have our asses hung.
There isn't a Michigan man who wouldn't like to go out and scalp those Buckeyes right now.
I will go to my grave thinking that was a premeditated plan.
Woody obviously wanted that banner down. He hated that banner.
That was no doubt John Hicks going out there, leading the team out on the field, and seeing that flag, and just a spur of the moment said, I'm tearing this sucker down.
I've been unjustly accused. I'm like Richard Kimball. I'm the fugitive. We hold that in the memory of Coach Hayes. I've been accused of tearing the Michigan banner down. I ducked under it. Then it came down.
I went to talk to the University of Michigan Police. I said we should do something about Hicks, put a warrant out for his arrest.
Woody said, we've sent that banner where it belongs, back to the 50.
At left halfback from Columbus, Ohio, number 45, Archie Griffin.
Archie was our bread and butter.
There's a hand up to Griffin. He's over the 30, the 35, the 40. He's still in his feet, the 45, the 50. Archie Griffin shows why he is one of the finest tailbacks in the country.
Michigan just was playing like 8 men up on the line. We were still trying to run through that 8-man line.
Woody Hayes was so convinced that his way to play football was the best way to ensure success.
He thought the odds were better that you run the football. He would tell you, if you pass, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. You either throw an incompletion or you throw an interception.
But, I kind of took that game personally because Woody's play calling was predicated on my swollen thumb. He didn't call any option plays, and he didn't pass.
Cornelius Green had hurt his right thumb late in the game against Iowa the previous week.
Thought I could throw pretty good, but Coach didn't have any confidence in me at all.
Ohio State is in the lead by a score of 3-0. Back clock is running. We've come down to a minute and 3 to go. And right now, a big play for the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. Touchdown, says the linesman. So, at halftime, Ohio State, ranked number 1 in the nation, leads Michigan 10-0.
I just saw the game with Dennis and I being, the first 2 African-American quarterbacks for both teams. And I think when young African-American kids all across the nation saw that game, I think Dennis and I sparked that, hey, they can do it as well.
I often said probably people turned the channel on and wiping their eyes saying, wow, am I seeing 2 African-American quarterbacks for these 2 schools who never had one before? My freshman year, I got a lot of hate mail and thought that I had made the wrong decision of coming here to Ohio State. Talking to Dennis, I didn't realize that he was experiencing the same thing up in Michigan.
Being first black quarterback at Michigan, that was always an issue. It was always Dennis Franklin, Michigan's first black quarterback. As if to say, I wasn't as good as the quarterback or the other quarterbacks. I wanted to get to the level that they would forget about me being the black quarterback and just being Michigan's quarterback. Somebody's got to do it. And I'd just as soon be me. I'm sure Corny felt the same way, that it be him. It's a part of history, and we're grateful to have been a part of that.
Dennis was my idol. He was carrying the torch for African-Americans, quarterbacks. And I looked up to him and, of course, couldn't tell him. But now he's here, and I just like to say that and put it on the record.
Well, you humble me very much, so don't know what to say, but I appreciate those kind words. So,
more than welcome.
I'm usually never lost for words, but I don't know what to say to all this.
That's true.
I really think that if you're going to play against Ohio State and if you're going to have a chance, you got to bring something extra. Not just your best game, but you got to bring something from within. Michigan's offense came around the second half, and we had to depend on Ed, and he came through. I mean, big time. So
I think it was his greatest game. He was dominant in the second half. It was Archie the first half, and then we got him tired. We tired him out. Then Shuttlesworth took over.
Then he hands off to Shuttlesworth. He's on the way down for the first down to the Buckeye 42-yard line.
Being from Ohio, I wanted to be the best back on the field.
Easy Ed is Michigan's answer to Archie Griffin here this afternoon.
We were going to move the ball and punch it down their throats.
Gives off Easy Ed down to the 19-yard line. First down, Michigan.
And then Michigan took that ball and went down and got its first 3 points with a field goal to make the score 10-3.
The complexion of the game has changed from scarlet and gray to maize and blue.
And they had the momentum now.
So here comes Dennis Franklin again.
You know, he's from Ohio, and there are a lot of Ohio-born players on the Michigan team. That just makes this rivalry that much more intense. That's right.
Dennis came here from Massillon, Ohio. And if you grew up in Massillon, Ohio, you were expected to attend Ohio State University.
Franklin back for a pass. Cocks his arm, throws downfield, and it's caught at the 30. And the executioners are executing with perfection.
The thing I think about when I think about Dennis Franklin is the quote he made and the quote that Woody Hayes put on our bulletin board. Only the good ones go to Michigan. And what he was referring to was Ohio players who would go to Michigan instead of coming to Ohio State. I'll never forget that quote. And that really, really rubbed a lot of us at Ohio State in the wrong way.
Now they have it fourth down and 2 inches to go at the 9.5-yard line. Michigan's easy at Shuttlesworth. You can rest assured he'll get the ball now. They need 2 inches. Dennis Franklin at quarterback.
The play was called 28.
Ohio State was looking for Ed to carry the ball because he'd been running that gash in the Ohio State defense.
Dennis Franklin at quarterback. He hands off to Shuttlesworth 5, and it's down to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown, Dennis Franklin! Oh, my God, Dennis Franklin fooled everybody. He fooled me. He fooled the entire Ohio State team.
And I got a little hot doggish, which, you know, that's another thing that is an issue back in those days. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that putting a ball in the air with one hand being considered a hot dog? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this?
The Wolverines come out in the second half, and they match Ohio State's 10 points in the first half. And the Wolverines now have tied up the ball game 10-10. Oh, we're not excited, not one damn bit.
We were back. We had it where we wanted it. We felt now the momentum was on our side.
2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. Dennis Franklin sets his team high formation. Chapman deep, Shuttlesworth close. 2nd and 5 on the 44. He goes back for a pass. He eludes one man. He throws downfield. Shuttlesworth catches it, and it gave Michigan their 16th first down. But Dennis Franklin was decked. He was decked back on the 37-yard line by Vic Hagel.
I heard something pop, and I knew something was wrong right away.
You can see the wear and tear on Dennis Franklin's face. He is shaken up. It appears to be a shoulder. It's a tough break for the junior from Massillon, Ohio. They need about another 8 or 10 yards to put the ball within Landry's range. Landry is a field goal kicker that can kick them. And there he is, number 36. Soon maybe the pressure will be on him.
I was on the sideline, and Bo grabbed me by the shoulder pads and just said, you know, you need to go out there and kick this field goal.
Here he is. Landry's going to try and do it. He's going to try a 58-yard field goal.
58 yards is a long field goal. Mike Landry could hit from a very long ways.
He was a veteran. He had been to war, literally.
In 1969, I was sent over to Vietnam. A year in Vietnam grows you up real quick. We were literally fighting for our lives every day over there.
Well, I don't pretend to understand what it is to have a combat experience like Mike did. Certainly that puts your entire life in perspective.
He realized this was a game. No one was going to get killed.
Here it is. Oh, the Vietnam veterans kick is up. It is. Would you believe it is off to the side, but nearly there.
My message to Mike was, you're going back out there. Don't worry about what just happened. Just understand you're going to go back out there. And you're going to win the game.
With about 1 minute left in the game, Woody Hayes knew he would need to pass the ball to have any chance to kick a game-winning field goal. Instead of testing Cornelius Green's injured thumb, Hayes put in senior quarterback Greg Hare.
And blocking for Ohio State's Hare as he throws the ball, and it's intercepted by Michigan. He's down to the 32-yard line. It's intercepted by Tom Drake.
You know what he said? When you pass, three things can happen, and two of them are bad.
The dramatic moment in 1973 Big Ten football.
It wasn't all that far away, and you think, oh, geez, you know, we're 10-10 tie.
One of the most titanic moments in the history of Michigan football.
We're trying to rally, and we just kept yelling at, we got to stop them, we got to stop them, we got to block them.
And now kneeling at the 34-yard line is Larry Gustafson. He's kneeling. Mike Landry supered call.
We made the call, we got to block this thing. I told Arnie Jones, who was our nose tackle at that point, he says, Arnie, stay on all fours. I'm going to take a leap off of your back and get up and try and get into the air to see if I can get that blocked.
This is the whole game wrapped up in one play. The whole season for two great teams.
I guess the reality of it is saying, now that would be illegal and maybe a flag would have come out. But I was thinking, I says, I could care less. I can't imagine that the refs, they want to watch just like we do.
And stepping over the back of a player.
It's spotted, it's kicked, it's end over end.
I really noticed something out of the corner of my eye that I'd never seen before. I noticed someone climbing up over our center's back.
And it is off to the right. Mike Landry misses on a 44-yard field goal attempt.
I placed no blame on anybody but myself regarding that kick. I had all the confidence in the world, and obviously after the kick, I felt like shit. And that's my legacy.
We wouldn't have been there for it.
No, you know what?
We wouldn't have got there for it.
It was great to just be part of the program.
Everyone realizes you did kick a field goal and an extra point in that game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, yeah. I'm always known as that guy that, like that was the only time I'd ever come out and attempt a field goal is when, you know.
The time has expired. It's another memorable 10-10 tie.
Everything was riding on that football game. To not get the win was kind of disappointing.
You know, when we left the field, we thought we had won the game. And I remember looking at more than one Buckeye in the eye, and it looked like they knew we won the game also.
I kind of felt that too, you know, because we were very fortunate to get out of there with a tie.
None of us felt we were taking the uniform off for the last time. All of us felt like we were going to Pasadena. And we didn't know about athletic director votes. We didn't, we were all kind of going, well, what happens now?
The athletic directors will take a vote on which team will be the Big Ten representative in the battle for the Roses.
This was kind of unprecedented, and there were a whole bunch of rules and steps to go through, and that they had landed on this athletic director vote. All of a sudden, we felt like it was election night.
The fact that Michigan came back and dominated the game the entire second half, this would make them the sentimental favorite at least.
The locker room was ecstatic. I mean, we are going to the Rose Bowl.
I was thinking about how many tickets I need and what am I going to pack? What's the weather like? I mean, I already had plans made.
Even Woody felt the same thing. You could tell just by the way he was talking in the locker room afterwards that Michigan was going to receive the bid to represent the Big Ten and go to the Rose Bowl.
We did get a telephone call after the game from the commissioner of the Big Ten, Wayne Duke. The purpose of the call was the condition of Dennis Franklin. There was no release or any information on the extent of the injury. The only person that could relay that information was Dr. Gerald O'Connor. I had no information on that at all.
When Commissioner Duke called Will Perry, I don't believe that Will actually used the term broken collarbone at the time. I think it was more shoulder separation. Doesn't look good, I think is the way Wayne phrased it to me.
The Big Ten had lost the last 4 Rose Bowls, and they had been humiliated. Ohio State had really been humiliated by Southern Cal the year before by a score of 42-17.
And they thought that if Michigan went and I wasn't going to be able to play, our chances of winning were decreased.
Certainly the conference wanted to win. There's a lot of prestige involved. Let's face it, the Rose Bowl is a very lucrative pack for the Big Ten. Back then, especially.
You don't go to a bowl game in those days because you're projected to win. I mean, that's not why you go. We were going as a reward.
That game had an effect on all the directors because heretofore, the directors of athletics had never had to vote as to who was going to be the representative to the Rose Bowl.
In the Big Ten Conference, the ADs had the power. They were the ones that made decisions. I do believe there may have been a meeting early Sunday morning, either by telephone or in person.
As athletic director, I received a phone call from Wayne Duke. He said that the conference wants the athletic directors to make the decision of who should represent the Big Ten.
I believe they were all together in Chicago and had a vote.
It was all individual and all by phone.
It was not a phone conversation. All the men were together in a room, as far as you recall?
Yes. Yes, they were all together, as far as I recall.
This was not going to be a situation where the 10 athletic directors came to Chicago and had a discussion or tried to persuade somebody one way or the other. Wayne had made it clear that this was going to be a closed-door session that he was going to handle. Our conference attorney, Byron Gregory, at the time, was going to be involved, but he wanted it to be just those 2 people. He didn't want any leaks about this. He knew that he could trust Byron Gregory.
Former Big Ten Commissioner Wayne Duke was unable to be interviewed due to health issues. Former conference attorney Byron Gregory was not permitted to be interviewed on camera. Via telephone, Gregory said all 10 athletic directors were in Chicago on Sunday, November 25th, 1973 for a Big Ten basketball meeting the following day. Gregory said that all 10 athletic directors were together in the Big Ten Conference's office in downtown Chicago to cast their votes in person, not by telephone.
Ohio State needed 6 votes to go. Michigan only needed 5. If it comes out a 5-5 vote, whichever team went more recently to the Rose Bowl was eliminated. And, of course, that would be Ohio State.
Ohio State had gone the year before. So what I want to know is what was the question that Wayne Duke asked the athletic directors? Who should go? Who is the better team? Who's got the best chance this year after 4 straight losses? What was asked in the first place?
People have asked me, did Wayne Duke try to persuade the vote with anybody? He certainly didn't with me.
If an athletic director asked Wayne about the Dennis Franklin situation, I think Wayne answered in an honest manner. I do know for a fact that athletic directors did ask Wayne about it. Bert Smith at Michigan State did talk to Commissioner Duke about the Dennis Franklin situation because Bert told me that.
When you ask for the health update on Denny Franklin and you say accurately, the report is that he broke his collarbone. True. That's all you have to say.
I don't think that Wayne Duke tried to influence anybody. It was his job to share that information with the athletic directors to help them make the right choice.
All you have to have is the AD asking that question about Franklin and Wayne Duke answering it honestly. And that's going to affect their votes.
This whole exercise of the vote of the athletic directors was permeated and saturated by politics. And I'll never know what role Wayne Duke played in it, but I think he probably had some kind of a role.
Former conference attorney Byron Gregory said that he and Commissioner Wayne Duke discussed at length whether to volunteer the injury status of Michigan quarterback Dennis Franklin with the athletic directors. They decided they should share the information as the meeting began. That decision angered Michigan Athletic Director Don Canham.
There's supposed to be an announcement by the Big Ten about the Rose Bowl at 2 o'clock. WWJ was doing the Bo Schembechler show. And they were in their studios were downtown in Detroit. The place was crowded with reporters. First reporter said, did you hear about the vote?
Your reaction to this voting by the Big Ten Athletic?
Well, there's no question, Ray. I'm very bitter, and I resent it. I think it's a tragic thing for Big Ten football. I think they denied the team that won and deserved the right to go. And I've got to face my football team and tell them that, and I don't know exactly how to approach it. Because today you try to teach them to believe that everything is going to be right if you earn the right. And we earned the right, and they took it away from us. You know, before, they never wanted to send a team 2 years in a row. The Big Ten never wanted to send it because it was bad academically. And now, all of a sudden, they want to send Ohio State a second year in a row. This is the lowest day in my athletic career, either as a player or a coach, because I am bitterly resentful at the way this thing was handled.
He told Don Kramer, the announcer, that he couldn't do the show. He'd do it the next day. We didn't say a word coming back. I mean, what was there to talk about?
Archie and I was in our apartment, and we found out we were going, and of course, we just went crazy.
I'll be honest with you, I was totally surprised when they voted for us to go.
For some reason, we thought because we went the year before and we didn't play well against USC that was going to hinder us from going again.
So when they gave us that opportunity, it was like we were reborn.
We're watching TV, and a little thing comes on in the TV right before the NFL game. And I read it, and I thought, well, it can't be.
Our jaws dropped. We could not believe it.
It was like a death, and it was an unexpected death.
There was our normal Sunday afternoon meeting, and I never, ever saw Bo that upset and that bitter, frustrated.
He was angry, but he was sad at the same time. He was sad for us.
He had asked us to put our butts on the line and bust our ass, and we did it. And for every time that we would do something like that, the result is over here. And this is what he had promised us. And he couldn't give it to us this time. And he didn't know how to explain that.
None of us like that, but if you think about how great the game was, it was a great game.
But it was truly unfortunate it came down to a vote like that, arbitrary. And you know, maybe it was an election. So typically there's some lobbying that takes place before every election. And elections have consequences. For us, they weren't good. There were athletics directors that had affiliations with the University of Michigan.
Bill Orwig at Indiana played at Michigan. Pump Elliott at Iowa played at Michigan and coached at Michigan. Elroy Hirsch, he was at Wisconsin at the time, played at Michigan. Bert Smith, the director of athletics at Michigan State, was a Michigan grad. Don Cannon was obviously a Michigan man.
If you had ever been associated with Michigan, how could you ever not support the University of Michigan?
I would really like to know how each of those schools voted. I think the people of Michigan would like to know how our sister institution voted as well. I'd like to know.
4 minutes after 8 o'clock in the morning on WJR Radio. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about that unbelievably bad decision made by the athletic directors voting Ohio State to represent the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl after Michigan really clearly outplayed them.
Well, it's a shock. I thought we were going to go.
Well, I don't think it's fair.
We proved yesterday we were the better team. You know, it's a shame what happened to Franklin, but I still think we deserve to go.
Bob Ufer from the University of Michigan. I know how you feel, Ufer, because you're an M-man all the way.
When it comes down to loyalty, I think that well, let me put it this way. I know Paul Giel voted for us. We know Cannon voted for us. We know we got 4 votes. 2 of the 4 Michigan men, and it is a loyalty vote, politics, political vote, call it what you will. You're right. That's what it reduced itself to. Where is the loyalty of those 4 M men? 2 of those 4 men, JP, have got to be turncoats. Now, I want to know who those 2 Michigan men are that are turncoats. You know, one thing I will say, though, I think the vote will come out. You know, they said Watergate would never get out. This is going to get out.
After the vote was taken, the Big Ten Conference office was receiving bags, these big gray bags of mail from the U.S. Postal Service. I mean, hundreds, thousands of letters. This is a letter that was sent from a gentleman in Charlevoix, Michigan. Commissioner, you and your athletic directors are Bush. In the era before email, people did communicate instantly via telegram. And there were a lot of telegrams that were sent to the conference office. Wayne Duke, the ripoff champion of the year. Dear Mr. Duke, congratulations. You have done what even President Nixon and his associates have heretofore been unable to do. You have convinced me with certainty that the system does not work. Your decision reminds me of the Watergate scandal. Winning is what's important, not fairness. I completely understand why some people would view this as just, you know, college football's Watergate. It was in the news at the time. To a lot of people, it stunk.
A lot of people mention Watergate in the context of this vote, that not only has our president thinks that he's above the law, so does our Big Ten commissioner, and this is the kind of injustice you get. Guess what? Secrecy breeds paranoia, and you have buckets of it here, man.
It just wasn't the case. The 2 are absolutely opposite ends of the spectrum. The athletic directors did not want that vote public. It was the best decision to make from the entire conference viewpoint.
The guys remember, the Michigan guys, after the game, and then we were voted out the next day, vote was very animated, publicly, and accused Big Ten of collusion. So we had 5 of those ADs had a connection to Michigan. They either played there or coached there. And 2 of them, Bert Smith, who played hockey at Michigan and was the AD at Michigan State, voted against us, our sister school.
But who was the tie? Who was the tie?
Well, no, it was a tie, we would have gone. It was 5-5, we would have gone. It was 6-4.
No, it wasn't 6-4. I thought it was 5-4-1. Bert Smith voted for Michigan State.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's what screwed us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bert Smith, the athletic director at Michigan State, voted for Michigan State.
Now, the way I heard it is he voted for us because when Michigan State was trying to get into the Big Ten, that Michigan voted them down.
When the Big Ten was being formed, Michigan voted for Pittsburgh. It was either Michigan State or Pittsburgh to come into the Big Ten, and Michigan voted for Pittsburgh and not Michigan State. So the old grudge came back up, and Michigan State voted for Ohio State to go. And that's how he tells the story.
Right.
Why it was 5-4-1. But Michigan State supposedly had the last vote. From my understanding, it was a 4-4-1 tie with Michigan State having the last vote. And Michigan State voted for us and not Michigan.
Wound up being a 6-4 vote. And there are a couple of votes that come under tremendous scrutiny.
5 voted for Ohio State, 4 voted for Michigan, and Michigan State's guy voted for Michigan State. And if I'm wrong, somebody prove me wrong.
You hear that it was 6-4. There's been some speculation. Was it 5-4-1? I don't know that anybody can prove that other than the 2 people that were involved with it. The votes came in. They were tabulated. They were recorded. They were put on paper. I know that there was a paper that had everything written down.
There was this manila envelope that contained the actual votes of the athletic directors from the 1973 Ohio State-Michigan game. So that envelope has mysteriously disappeared.
That little piece of mystery. I haven't seen it, and I know you haven't seen it, and I know a lot of guys doing research on this stuff, they haven't seen it. I want to see that sheet of paper. That's what I want to see. There's your smoking gun.
Wayne kept that under very close wraps. He knew, our conference attorney knew, but that was it. Those are the 2 that know for sure, and anybody else that says, I know what it is, just really, I don't think is saying the truth.
You could not have created a decision-making process to create more paranoia, more conspiracy theories, more animosity. It could not have gone any worse.
Former conference attorney Byron Gregory said each athletic director wrote his vote on a piece of paper and handed it to Wayne Duke, which prevented the athletic directors from knowing who voted for which school.
There was one athletic director that I can mention, Bert Smith, at Michigan State, didn't want to vote for either team.
When Gregory was asked in 2013 for the final results of the vote, the Big Ten Conference invoked its attorney-client privilege.
It was pretty widely reported within a few days that these are the people that had voted on each side of it. Athletic directors from Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, and Iowa voted for Michigan.
Wayne Duke asked me who I would vote for, and I said, I coached at Michigan, and I played football at Michigan, so I voted for Michigan.
Who voted for Ohio State? Well, of course, Ed Weaver, director of athletics at Ohio State, voted for his own team. So did George King at Purdue. Cecil Coleman, the director of athletics at Illinois, said that he would cast Illinois' vote for Michigan. And somehow, by Sunday, when they cast the votes, he had changed his mind and voted for Ohio State.
Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch of Wisconsin voted for Ohio State.
Tippy Dye at Northwestern voted for Ohio State.
The relationship between Tippy Dye and Don was not very good. Northwestern was not drawing very many people, and yet they would come into Michigan Stadium, and after about 1970-71, they'd take home a very sizable check from the attendance at Michigan, and Michigan would go to Northwestern in Evanston, and there'd be 18 guys and a small dog watching a game.
Northwestern wanted to supplement its budget, and the Chicago Bears wanted to play some of their games at Dyke Stadium on the Northwestern campus.
Don said, no, I think that we shouldn't do that. That really irked Dippy Dye, and he was an Ohio State guy to begin with. So when a vote came up, he naturally showed his feathers on that vote.
But the one that really upset Michigan is Michigan State.
Michigan State Athletic Director Bert Smith, who was a former Michigan letterman, lettered in hockey, lettered in baseball, played freshman football in Ann Arbor, but he was a Spartan. So he understood the rivalry from both sides in a way that maybe no one else had.
Bert was good. Bert was strong, but Bert sometimes had trouble making decisions.
A lot of people will tell you that whatever is good for Michigan is bad for Michigan State, and vice versa.
Bert voted for Ohio State. I was shocked.
However, because of the inordinate amount of discord and emotion which seems to have arisen, I feel that it would be in the best interest of the sports public and my university to make a very brief statement of my action. I voted for Ohio State as a Big Ten representative. Personalities or institutional jealousies were totally absent from that decision. It was my conclusion that Ohio State best met the definition of the most representative team.
I saw that game on TV. I'm not an expert, I'm not a football coach, but the best team on the field that day was the University of Michigan. I asked Bert why he voted for Ohio State, and Bert says what swayed him was when Dennis Franklin got hurt.
The fact that they may have been hiding behind my injury, it's just so unfair. We deserve an opportunity to go, plain and simple.
Dennis had some reporters over to his house. He wanted to demonstrate that he could throw, that his throwing arm was well.
I was in my backyard throwing snowballs and footballs. I could have played. For sure, I could have played. You think I would have not played? I mean, come on. With an opportunity like that, would I have not played? Come on, I would have played.
Don Cannon was certainly very competitive, wanted to win, but also politically smart. He certainly had his differences with the Big Ten commissioner over the years, but he did not blame Wayne Duke for that vote.
No, I don't think there's any politics in here at all. In fact, I'm certain of it. I think really we have the best group of athletic directors the Big Ten has ever had, and I mean that sincerely. I've seen them vote against their own best interests, and their vote was cast on the way they saw the situation. And I really believe that, sincerely.
Do you think Ohio State can beat Southern Cal?
Sure. I think Michigan can beat Southern Cal, too.
As co-champions of the Big Ten, the Buckeyes were voted into the Rose Bowl game in Pasadena, California against USC, coached by John McKay. Archie Griffin added 149 yards in Ohio State's convincing 42-21 thrashing of Southern California.
That's what I'm talking about.
I just brought some memorabilia. Knew I was coming in with the coat and the Buckeyes and the pin, and just wanted to. Got 4 Buckeyes here, driving around we were on our way to the Rose Bowl after we got the announcement. We left Sunday night and drove out there and got ready. And just to let you know, when they did make that decision, they sent the best team to the Rose Bowl back in 1974. So, and the ticket at that point was $12.50.
Oh my God! $12.50.
$12.50.
Amazing.
Just a little bit of memory there for having some fun here with you guys. And
After that 1973 game, nobody wanted to see any more ties. 1975 is when they started letting more than one Big Ten team go to the bowl game. Yeah, that game really made the difference in that. I think they did that because of that game and because Michigan, you didn't go to a bowl at all during your whole time, but you had such a great record. And I think because of that,
32 and
there
1.
could be more than one team deserving of going to a Rose Bowl or going to a bowl game in Big Ten.
Still, I'm not happy about it. I don't think that I'll ever get over it to the point that, you forget it or you accept it. But, it's part of life. Certain things you just can't change. And, but it's nice, like I think Archie said, just to be a part of what we all have contributed to experience what we've been able to experience, and to be a part of maybe the greatest rivalry in all the sports, Michigan and Ohio State. That's something that you have to treasure and that you can treasure for the rest of your life. And that makes it special, regardless of the outcome.
What Bo did is Bo vowed to that team that we will never forget this. And when we play against those teams that voted against us, we shall not forget it. And I was coaching there. 12 years later, he would be telling those kids, we're playing Illinois. They voted against us. They'd be looking at me, what is he talking about? I said, the old man's still pissed off at him. He says, well, then we're going to kick your ass. Hey, if the old man's mad at him I don't know what he's mad at him for, but he never did not mention it.
Everybody thought, well, we'll let it go and forget about it. But I had some great football players and great teams that never got to play in that great classic.
I feel sorry for the 30 seniors that battled to go back there, and then they wouldn't give us the opportunity.
They were some of the best football teams in the United States of America, and I never forgot that.
And whether I can affect any changes, I doubt seriously. I'm just a football coach.
I always said to myself, if I ever let up on my bitterness over what happened to that football team in 1973, I'm not being fair to those guys who played. And so I never have, and I've been bitter ever since about it, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. Because of that Michigan team in 1973, all these other teams in the Big Ten Conference now have an opportunity to play in a postseason bowl game. But it was at a hell of an expense.
Do you think that you're disliked by other coaches in the conference?
Well, I think, any time you've had the success that we've had, I'm sure there's some people that might have reservations. But I don't think that I am any more disliked than the coach that they're sending to the Rose Bowl.
All right. Okay.